So,
We went to
our ship pulled into La Rochelle,
France.
France, the lower part of France, right? And we decided to take a excursion or a tour, a walking tour into La Rochelle. So it was a bus ride first, like a 20-minute bus ride, I think, to downtown La Rochelle from where we were docked. And they took a little time, and when we were on our way there, and they drove us by the place where World War II, the German U-boats were basically resupplied, repaired. So it's this huge cement structure that these U-boats are in, and I don't know how much concrete's on top of that, but
It's like 2 stories of concrete.
yeah, it was bombed. I don't know how much, but it held and protected the U-boats. And then they also had, just down from that, because they had a lock and they had to let the water in and out. They also had another structure over the lock where the U-boat would wait, because it would take an hour, I believe, for the water to transfer. And so they had that there as well to protect the U-boat. So that was interesting. That was a surprise. I didn't really know it was there. I probably read it before, but it just didn't click. And so I appreciated that she drove us by that and showed that to us. So very impressive.
Yeah. It was unique that La Rochelle, the village itself, was not damaged during the war. That is remarkable.
Yeah, she talked something about a naval officer, a French naval officer, who did some negotiations, and there was a peaceful transfer of the city, whereas most of the cities around were leveled. La Rochelle was not, and it stayed intact and is as it was years and years ago built.
And it is beautiful.
It is beautiful for sure. All the seems to be limestone.
Yes.
Or not, is it limestone?
I think limestone here.
I think it's limestone, which has been meticulously cared for. And everything is immaculate, and it's super clean.
Yeah, the marina was all...
Yeah, so the bus dropped us off by the marina, and there's 2, like...
Buttresses?
Is it buttresses? We can call them. We call them whatever we want. It's our video. Yeah. 2 buttresses there, and then the boats come in between there. And there was a marina on this side filled with sailboats and motorboats and whatnot, and very pretty in there. There were towers around,
And the village is kind of centered around that
yeah,
area.
yeah, the village kind of goes around, and so that's where we were dropped off. And then she took us through a nice little hour-long walking tour of the town. And again, in French or European fashion, you've got the roads and the nice tall flat buildings on either side of the road, and kind of a tunnel down there. And it's, pictures don't do it justice to see that. And so it was...
She pointed out a few buildings that hadn't been damaged by fire.
Yes.
And the unique style that they use there with the really large wooden beam, and then the use of slate on the buildings,
Yes. Use of slate.
and then the really thick stone wall between the buildings now.
fire.
Well, now as of what, 1600.
A new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for fire, so fire doesn't spread. And not all the buildings had slate, just a few of them did. Had slate tiles on them. It didn't seem like it was just random here or there. Some of the buildings had slate on them, and some didn't. And then kind of almost in the middle of the main area in La Rochelle was this courtyard, and they were having what we would call a farmer's market, right? Vegetables and fruit and things of that nature being sold in this big square, and that was nice. And then we also went over and saw, I believe it's San Antone Church, the church there. and she had talked about how when it was being built, the priest or bishop who was there at the time wanted it done before he passed on, and so it's not as ornate as a lot of the churches you see in Europe. It's a little more simpler on the outside. They didn't do a lot of the stone etching because he wanted it to be done quickly. And but when you went inside, it was definitely nice inside. So that was nice to see. And then she cut us loose, and we had like a half hour on our own, right? So we walked down, and you'd wanted to see this house, this mansion, right? And I'll let you kind of.
Yeah, it was built in 17 something or other, and it was owned by a family that had plantations in Dominican Republic for sugar cane. And then they also did later, much later, they did exploration funded by the French in Canada and in Quebec. And they brought pelts back as part of that economic time frame. And I can't remember if that was 1800 and something or other. Anyways, they were part of that. So it was interesting seeing artifacts from the Iroquois and from the people of Haiti, or no, not Haiti, Dominican Republic, the sugarcane.
Yeah, they had taken
plantations.
his home or his mansion and turned it into a museum, basically, and they had all of this stuff in there. And it was a large house. It was nice, but it's right smack in the middle of town. And I think when we walked by from the backside, she had pointed it out. But you don't really realize what it is until you go into it. And the entrance to it's kind of on a side street,
Right.
and it's different.
When you think that the home originally had land all the way around it, right, and then later all these other houses, it still has a small garden courtyard in the back area. Yeah, it was beautiful to see the carpentry in the building.
Lots of wood
the
in there.
curved cabinets and just the attention to detail. It's just amazing.
Yeah, the closets in there were in the corner, but they were curved, and then they were curved, and the doors
Were curved.
would be curved, and
Yeah.
you'd open them up, and
Yeah,
it's not
just-
something you typically see. That was nice, and the wood floors and the banisters with the iron and the wood railing, and it was a nice house.
It's interesting.
And all the rooms had these fireplaces with granite
Facade. And,
or
yeah.
mantles around them, and it was a nice
Yeah,
place.
nice to see.
Yeah, and then on our way back to catch the bus back to the ship, we had to stop at a bakery because we're in France now, and it would be a tragedy to not stop at the bakery. It would be a missed opportunity. And
The French bakeries are so good.
there is nobody
That does croissants.
that does croissants like the French. And it is undescribable. It is crispy on the outside and chewy on the inside. And oh my gosh. When we were in Paris and ate them for the first time, I think for me personally, it's kind of ruined eating croissants anywhere else in the world because it just doesn't measure up,
Doesn't measure up.
It just doesn't quite do it.
Yes.
And so
So that was a treat being
that
back in
was
France.
a treat.
Yes.
That was nice.
Yeah.
And
For
so, I think La Rochelle, to this point, from all the places we've seen, is my favorite so far on this trip.
It was,
It was
beautiful.
fantastic.
And hearing the language, it was so nice to
Oh,
be
the
back
French.
in France. Yeah.
Yeah, my people. My people.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
And so,
nice.
yeah, really liked Rochelle and had a great guide. She was so French.
Yes, she was,
And I say that in a good way.
yeah.
She was very French.
Yeah, she
And-
was so intelligent and trying so hard to get so much information into a short period of time, and so proud of her heritage and the history of the village. And yeah, she took us on a kind of out of the way so that we could see one of the town. The village doesn't have any parks in it, but just outside the town there's a huge park.
Right.
And she made sure that we understood the value of that park and how it added to.
And she said she spent many weekends there with her children in that park.
It was beautiful.
Yeah,
And it wasn't
it was
a manicured park. It was one of those natural.
More natural.
Yeah.
That's
Where
right.
they spent time really thinking out the pathways and the types of shrubs and trees, and it's in its natural state now, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I really
It's not
like
overly.
Rochelle. Although I like France a lot,
Yeah.
so I'm a little biased, but very, very nice place.
So picturesque.
Yeah, and all the sailboats and the yes.
Really nice. Really nice.
So